Welcome back. I want to talk to you today about this Trayvon Martin case in Florida. Now, if you're a longtime viewer, you know that I wear hoodies quite frequently. I started wearing hoodies when I was 12, 13 years old when I started to wrestle in junior high school. And when you would wrestle, sometimes you would have to make weight. Sometimes you'd be 3 pounds, 5 pounds, 7 pounds overweight. Hoodies and sweatpants are a great way to make weight. So I've been wearing these for 46 years. And I want to tell you that I am deeply insulted by all the people who've put on hoodies and acted like the hoodie is the problem here. The problem here, and there's two major ones, but the main problem here is the specific behavior that Mr. Martin engaged in. And it is important to keep in mind that the media, how do you know the mainstream media is lying to you about this case? Their lips are moving. If you look at the picture that the media put into the paper, here is poor Trayvon, okay? That's a picture of him when he was 12 years old. Trayvon, according to the AP Wire, was 6'2" and 210 pounds. Mr. Zimmerman is 5'6". You might be frightened as well. The media has said this is a white on black crime. That's a lie. Mr. Zimmerman is Hispanic. His mother's a first-generation immigrant from Peru. Okay, now just so we can keep all this straight, this is not white on black crime. This is Hispanic on black crime. I'm opposed personally, morally, ethically, to segmenting Americans into different racial divisions. It reminds me of the state of Louisiana in the antebellum South when they had 20 different definitions for what you were. And by the way, I'm saying this to point out a very dark and ugly period of our history. In Louisiana, if you had 1 drop of white blood one drop of black blood and 8 drops of white blood, or 7 drops, whatever it was, octoroon, you were called an octoroon. If you were half and half, you were called mulatto. If you were half Indian and half African American, you were mestizo. They had a name, which I would define as a racial slur, for every single category. And the idea that people who see themselves as liberals lead the story with the race of the people involved in a crime tells you something very important about the person writing the story. The person writing that story is a racist. The race of the people involved in the crime is not the story here. And I want to quote from one of my heroes in the media, a guy named Juan Williams. Juan says the following: "The shooting death of Trayvon Martin in Florida has sparked national outrage, and civil rights leaders from San Francisco to Baltimore leading protests calling for new investigation and the arrest of the shooter. But what about all the other young black murder victims?" Now here's where you can see that Juan Williams is somebody in the national media who's going to tell you the truth. Nationally, nearly half of all murder victims are black. And the overwhelming majority of those black people are killed by other black people. Where is the march for them? If President Obama, if Mr. Obama wanted to really focus the attention of America on a real problem, he should not have said in his own racist way, Obama makes this whole thing about, I am a post-racial president. He is the most racist, most divisive president we've ever had. It is impossible to think seriously about how we're going to undo the damage that this man has done. And for him to walk out there and say, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon, the intent of that statement is so over the top and out of control that I just don't, I can't imagine anyone making that statement. If it was reversed, if Newt Gingrich came out in a crime that involved an African-American youth and one of his grandchildren and said, put up the picture of his white grandchild and put it next to the picture of the African-American accused and said, look at my child, look what this man did to my child. If he made an appeal based purely on emotion to incite racial violence, and make no mistake about this, you don't have to look any further than the Black Panthers. What do the Black Panthers tell you? They're saying, and at the same time, I want to scream, I'm so mad about this. At the same time we're getting lectured by the left about how the right says incendiary things, there's the president saying, this is what my son would look like if I had a son. And he, lectures us on how we should talk in public. And the new Black Panther Party has a bounty out on Mr. Zimmerman's head. And that racist bigot filmmaker, Spike Lee, is tweeting the address of Mr. Zimmerman. I read today that he had the wrong Zimmerman, and they got people out in front of this poor guy whose name is Zimmerman, who is not the Zimmerman in question. He's got these people out in front of his house, could have got him killed. Good going, Spike. Way to be a bigot racist. I just can't believe what's going on here, okay? So the overwhelming majority of black people are killed by other black people. Where is the march for them? Juan Williams has it exactly right. In the United States of America today, if you're upset about crime, go to Chicago. Over the St. Patrick's Day weekend, 49 people were shot in Chicago. Overwhelming majority were black. 15 of them died. It was more dangerous to be in Chicago on St. Patrick's weekend than it was to be in Kabul, Afghanistan, or in Iraq. Tell me what's going on here that's wrong. This is a travesty, and every one of these so-called black leaders are dancing and spitting on the grave of this poor young man. And when we find out exactly what happened, I guarantee you the story is going to be completely different from the narrative being used by the race and poverty pimps today in the media. God bless this poor kid's family. God bless his lost soul. And God bless everyone involved in this, because we're going to need help to get through this, because the race pimps and the poverty pimps have poured gasoline on the fire, and they've done what they always do. They've tried to create a giant riot, and they're inches away from accomplishing it. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.